Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. Last week we had some AC problems, and so we had to cancel with like less than an hour to go, but we had Jason's Deli then too, so everybody was very happy for that. Can everyone online hear us okay? So this is the first LSI communications workshop. And the reason we wanted to do this is because we wanted to start some conversations about human development research and communications. You know, not everybody understands the finer points of neurobiology or prenatal nutrition or multi-tiered systems of support. So what we want to do is look at, reaching audiences. What is the message how crafting a good message? What is the right platform for reaching people? What is the right technology, software? So I'm going to send around a sign-up sheet, and if you would be so kind and be thoughtful about what kind of things could help you communicate to your audiences. I'm going to send a feedback survey, so it'd be great if you guys could give me anything. We've got some ideas for upcoming workshops. The next one, we're inviting Josh Bullock, who is a scholarly communications librarian, and he's going to talk about open journal access. Scholarly journals are a new topic to me, so I've already learned a lot from talking to our NIH journal expert who, a lot of our funding agencies have requirements on access to journal articles that we publish too. So he also, that is his expertise, is open access for journals. And so that is going to be on October 18th at 11 o'clock. And as always, remember to follow us on social media. Twitter is @KU Lifespan and Facebook is @KU Lifespan Institute. And without further ado, today's topic is on Adobe Spark, and we have the premier expert on Adobe Spark on campus. She's this is Tenille Fincham, and she's a senior trainer at Technology and Instruction Engagement for IT. She also is expert at Excel, Outlook, OneNote, and a number of Adobe products. So maybe she'll be, if we're nice to her, she'll come back and teach us about some other stuff. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. Hey, everyone. My name is Tenille. I've met many of you before in the classroom, and I see some familiar names online again as well. So welcome to Adobe Spark. I am going to take just a quick screenshot of the participants here for Drew so that he has that since he's passing around the sign-in sheet. So I'll share this real quick for him, and we'll be off to the races. So today with Adobe Spark, the things we're going to capture here are, I want to talk about what it is, how you have access, how you get logged in, and then from there I'm going to demo the 3 different aspects to it. So there's post, page, and video. So we'll be taking a look at all 3. We'll also talk about how you then share that out with other individuals, whether you're going to share it through social media or if you just want to download the assets to send out after the fact. As a quick question for you all, has anyone used Spark before? Drew? Some? All right, cool. So Spark is a free online and mobile graphic design tool. There are 3 facets to it, like I mentioned. There's post, page, and video. It's great for creating social media posts because you can post directly to there. It also contains social media post sizes. So if you know that you're posting something to Instagram, it gives you the exact dimensions that you need so you don't have to think about it. If you've ever worked with something like Adobe Illustrator or Premiere, things like that, when you open it up, there's a lot of panels and a lot of things to do. And I know for me with Premiere, I just close the window because it's way too intimidating to even start. So Spark is much more lightweight than that, and it gives you some of the design tools built in, so you don't have to know the ins and outs of being a graphic designer, videographer, or web developer to create these facets. The way that I kind of talk about this as far as an example workflow to kind of create your final project is that if you are using photos that you've taken yourself or photos that Drew has taken and they're completely raw files, if you want to change the size of those, etc., you're still going to need to use Photoshop. It'll still be the best tool to resize or manipulate the photos. And then if you're starting from scratch, creating a logo for the research project or the brand or etc., then Illustrator is still going to be the best place for that. But then you can bring those assets into Spark to create kind of a final advertising piece. So if you're creating that stuff from scratch, you may still have to use some of the other programs to get the best results on stuff. Spark is available at no cost for all KU faculty, staff, and students, and it's the premier package. So this means that when you create something within Spark, it won't have any watermarks on that. So there's a completely free version of Spark, and that creates watermarks over your assets. When you log in with your KU credentials, then you get the premium access, so no watermarks. It also lets you upload branded information. So if you want to add KU brand information, like your department's logo or KU colors, etc., you can create what's called a brand within there that already holds those assets, like the colors and the logo, so that you can start right off with custom branded graphics. I'm going to show you how to get logged in. I do also want to mention before I forget, I'm going to send this right now. There's a couple of resources that we have for Spark as well. One is our howto.ku.edu. So this site is something that we've put together in training. And towards the bottom here, there's a Spark icon, and this will have additional information on getting started in Spark. So there's information on getting started, signing in, more about page, posts, and video. And then I'm going to send this right now because everyone in the room has this, but I'm going to send through the chat the URL for the cheat sheet for those of you online. So that's the URL to the Adobe Spark cheat sheet that you're welcome to download or keep a digital copy of. We also will have classes once a month. We just started these in July, but on workshops.ku.edu, you can search for Spark here, and it will show you, the entries where there's Spark. So the next available one is on the 26th, and these will be scheduled once a month throughout the remainder of the year. All right. So the URL to get logged in is spark.adobe.com. They just changed this since yesterday, so perfect. But sometimes on the screen, if you don't automatically get this login information, up at the very top, there's a button that says login. And once you click that, it'll be the exact screen that I'm looking at here. So because we're using your KU credentials here, you'll want to select the login with school account option. And then you'll enter in your KU email address. And then as soon as you click into the password field, it's going to take you to the KU credential page. Now mine looks a little bit different here because with my Adobe ID, I have it connected to a personal account for training and my KU account. So if you have the same thing, make sure you choose Enterprise ID if you get this option, because that will take you to the premium features. And this is going to take you to the sign-in page. So you'll log in with your KU credentials. If you're using Duo, you may have to authenticate here as well to get past the sign-in screen. And then when you're in Spark, I've already created projects, so it shows me my full list of projects. It's a little bit embarrassing because they're all cats. But you get the idea of your project page. When you first get signed in, the page that you're likely to see looks something like this, because it wants you to start with a project to get going. And so when you're on this screen here, this gives you different templates that you can start out with and then customize to your own. So if I know that I want to create, let's say a flyer here, and I like that the way that this has, multiple columns and areas to add information, I can select this option. And it's going to create a project for me with that layout. If I don't like this layout, along the side are all your panels to design your project. So when you're looking at it as a whole, you have options like changing your layout, which gives you different column or row options. There's also resize. So this right now is a poster size, which is 11 by 17. But if I know that I'm creating an 8.5 by 11 flyer, Spark already has listed the standard print sizes. It also has in here the standard social media sizes. So again, if you've ever had to work with an Illustrator, this is huge, because in Illustrator, you have to account for every single different place where you're going to post something and then rearrange it all to fit in that. So again, if I chose to say, oh, you know what, this is actually going to be an Instagram post, I can select Instagram. It's the exact 1-to-1 ratio, and it starts to reformat your art a bit for you too. So rescales it down to fit into that. So works with you as you start to change the sizes of your page. Now, because we started out with a template here, we already have some text that's written out in different ways, and we can start to move these assets around to kind of reformat how we want this to look within our new kind of arrangement here. To change the text, you can double click on existing, and now I can say cat things and click done. These handles at the corner let you make it larger or smaller. You can also expand it out, expand it in, whatever you want to do there. When you're working with the individual assets like text or a photo, then you have additional tools along the left-hand side here to make changes to that particular item. So when you're working with text, you get text tools. So here are some things I can do are I can change the font. I could also change the size here by zooming in and zooming out. You can change the letter spacing. So the spacing between the letters here. And then you can also adjust line spacing, so bringing it closer together or further apart. Then last thing here is opacity. Additional items you can change, so that's just with the type itself. You can change the color of the type. So if I wanted it to be red or orange or something like that, I could do that. The shape is the shape that's behind your text. So let me make this a little bit smaller here. So if I knew I wanted there to be a circle behind this, I could add that in, and it adds some kind of like highlighting to the text. There's other options here where you can type some more. So you can start to arrange this however you want. And there's multiple options here. There's borders or color behind the text. And then the effects are, do you want the text to be cut out? Do you want it to have a shadow or a border around it? You can do things like cut out. So now this text is cut out and it's that yellow background behind it, etc. And if you're not sure where to start or you want to see other options, you can click on this magic wand tool, and this gives you a wheel that you can spin around and you can see other iterations. using different features of the text to style this in a different way. If I wanted to add additional artwork to this, so let's say I wanted a photo here instead of this kind of graphic photo. I wanted an actual photo of a cat or something. Because there's an existing asset here, you have two options. We can replace it or we can delete it altogether. So I'm going to choose replace. When you're working with photos, there's two different options that you have. If you already have the photo on your computer, you can choose upload photo and grab it from there. Or there's also this option for find free photos, and this searches the Adobe Creative Commons and brings in several different photos related to the keyword that you typed in. And then if I wanted to make this larger, I can just increase the size of that column. Because we're working with photos now, we get some other options. So there are a few filters that you can add in here, like grayscale or lightning and contrast. And then there's also color fill. So if you've seen like the gradient overlays on some of the KU photos, you can do something similar here with adding in, one of the effects here, which is colorize. And you can shuffle which color you want to use or specifically define that. And the color fill, which is what I was on, just gives you another color block to work with instead of a photo. If you want to add additional assets, like another photo or other text that isn't already on here, then that is the add tool at the top. And this is where you can add in photos, you can add in text starting from scratch. And style that in a different way. You can also add in these icons, which are small graphics. So if I did research again, then I can add in this. Maybe place it here. I mean, this is starting to look real bad, but you get the idea of the different things that you can start to add in to make this and customize it in whatever way you want. This just pulls in the automatic yellow color because it's colors we're using elsewhere, but you can adjust the color here if I want it to be something different. And then again, just like others, you can use the handles to increase or decrease the size of that. And then lastly, if you want to change the whole design of this, if you say, okay, I want to see what other templates are available, as long as you click in this gray area around it, this gives you design options for your entire project. So when you're clicked on a specific piece, it gives you design options for that specific part. If you click on the gray area, this is where you can change aspects of your entire design. So think like the size of it or the layout if you're adding in columns. There is another little magic wand tool here, and this gives you other design templates that you could start out with. So if I like this better, then I can just click and add that, and it's going to rearrange my text and kind of place it into that format.
But that's only if you're already designing something. It wouldn't be a template that would be available at the beginning.
It would be a template available in the beginning and then also when you're designing. So you can switch templates as you're designing, or you can select one from the very beginning. The other option that you have is once you save this, so when you're saving this at the top, it tells you that this is called My Post, and I could call this, whatever the title of this is. And then to get back to your full list of projects here, you click on the SP icon, the Spark icon, and it takes you back to all of your projects. So if you want to start from a template, that's the plus sign. And this gives you different templates that are available to start creating your artwork. If you want to start completely from scratch, if you have something in mind with what you already want to do, then you can choose the start from scratch option and graphic, web page, or video, and then you get a completely blank slate, but you can always add a template in later using that magic wand. When it comes to sharing this project out, so when you hover over this, you see we have the edit project. So I'm going to choose that. If I want to make any changes at this point, I could. If I want to share this, I have two different options. I can download it, and it's going to save as a PNG or a JPEG. So then I have that downloadable asset. Or I can choose share and post directly to social media or get a link to this. So if you're generating like an email and you want to say, hey, check out this flyer for more information, you could either put that in as an image or you could provide a link to that extra asset. Okay, so I want to pause before I go on to the other tools. Questions about using post.
So you said that the KU colors are available, so where would
Oh
you
yeah,
find
let
those?
me show you that. So when you get back to your project list here, I'm going to delete mine so you can see what this looks like here. When you first start to add something next to your projects, it's going to say personalize your designs. And this is where you add that brand information. So you choose personalize your designs. You have to upload all three of these things before you can create a brand. So you can't do just color and font. You have to upload a logo as well.
I was going to say, if anybody needs the logo, I have all of LSI Center signatures.
Perfect.
So I could easily provide you the reversed one, the black and white one, the multicolor one, whatever you need.
Awesome. So once I do this, let's see if I can find the logo quickly here. So many folders. All right, let's see here. So I'm going to add this, and it will bring in the logo. And then for the color, it automatically brings in any colors that are associated with your logos that you can add. And you'll save that. And I'll show you how you can add additional colors later. But when you're setting it up, you can just choose one color, but then you can go back. And then you can pick a font. So if you already own like Chronicle and Gotham, which are the university fonts, you can add them here. If you don't, this one does contain Railway, which is an option, university option that's a replacement for Gotham, I believe. So it does have Railway for you to create your font. And you can see like when I start to do that, it creates these custom brands for me with the color that I've chosen. So what I choose next, I can give this a brand name and say make brand magic. While we're waiting for this to load, another really great resource if you're looking for all those KU colors is brand.ku.edu. And this will give you several things. So under the guidelines, it has the color palettes. So if it just pulls in one photo, if you're using like the black and white photo from Drew and you want to add in KU Crimson, then you can look at the color palettes here and it will give you the hex code, which is this here with the number sign that you can enter in for Adobe Spark to have those branded colors. And it has the primary and the secondary palette. And then if you're looking for photos to add to your works, then you can go to Toolkit and Downloads. And there's a couple of things you can get from here. There are the graphic elements. So if you wanted to add in the confetti or the dotted lines or the horizontal lines, you can download those from here. And then there's also the photo collections where you can, go into the academics and research and see if you want to use any of these photos within Spark. All right, so I now have my brand created. When you log in then, once you have a brand, you'll have projects and manage brand. So if I want to create a project that has all of my brand information in it, already has my logo, etc., you can choose manage brand. And this has templates for you with all of your brand information. So I'm going to choose see all, and I can choose this one, create from. And now this is a template that has my branded colors in it. I can add in my logo if I wanted to do that and resize that as well. So now you have all of your KU information here. If you want to add additional colors to your brand, under manage brand, you have the 3 different sections for logos. You can add additional. So if it's possible that you may want to use the reverse or the black and white, or this other one, you can add in multiple at this point of the logos that Drew has. And then if you want to add in colors, it's down below with colors, and you can choose more. And this is where you can grab that hex code from brand.ku.edu.
You don't have it memorized?
I don't. Actually, I used to have one of them. It's like 001 BA or something.
I don't have it memorized either. I know some people
Yeah.
do.
You got the RGB memorized.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 81, 186.
Whoa.
Just put it into words.
Now, if you create this brand like for a project, can then you share that with other people?
So
They have to do it their own.
they have to create their own brand. So that's really the biggest downside to Spark right now, in my opinion, is that it's just under one individual's account. So like if Drew and I were creating graphics together, you know, we'd have to choose who was going to create that. He couldn't be like, hey, can you add this to it? Because it's not that collaborative. It's just under one account. So this is being finicky now, of course. I think I maybe have one, and we'll see if this is actually correct.
I can give you those hex codes if you want.
Okay, I think it's 0051BA, I think
Yep.
it's KU Blue.
KU blue. You want crimson?
Sure.
E8000D. Here's crimson.
Perfect.
If you have the KU logo, would it pick it from that, or you have to tell it?
It only picks, well, so when you add it, it only picks one color from it.
Okay.
And then you have to add in the additional ones that you want to use. And this will, so if I wanted the red to be my primary, then you can also make this the primary, which is going to change all of your designs to have red instead of that night color as the primary color that it uses. So you can also choose which one is the primary that you start out with and which ones you want to use kind of as your secondary or tertiary colors. Other questions on the brand? All right, so let's talk about then the other 2 options that you have for creating assets. So we talked about the graphics, which is the post. Those are really great for, again, if you're doing anything social media wise, because it has that all built in, but it's also great for posters because it has all the print sizes built in. The other thing that it can be really great for is the CMS. So if you're creating a hero, you know, those have to be a very specific size for images. And within the post, you can add in the custom size. So at the very top, there's a custom size that you can enter the exact pixels that you would need for like a slideshow, which are kind of going by the wayside, but if you're looking for a specific size for any of your web projects. The next one to talk about is Page. So Page creates a single page website. So I'm gonna go, I just did the blue plus sign. I'm gonna go start from scratch because we're gonna start without a template first. We're gonna start from scratch and web page. Web page is really great for kind of temporary information. So if you want like a multi-linking dimensional site, you're still going to use the CMS. But if you have a feature story, or if you have an event, or if you're giving a presentation, then Page can be really good for those. It just doesn't actually create the multiple kind of linking things that you would be used to with the CMS. So the first thing you start off with is a title. Sorry, it's a cat day. The cat's meow. This very first plus sign here lets you change the image behind, so kind of like the hero image. So again, I can upload my own photo or find free photos here that I wanted to add in. And then as soon as you write or put in a photo, then you have this that says scroll to start writing your story. And as soon as you do that, you have the different options for what you can add to your page. So again, you can add in additional photos with captions. You can choose whether this fills the screen or if it's in line with your text, maybe it's just full width, or if it's within kind of a window frame here, so you can choose how that looks. Other things that you can add are bits of text. So I could say something cool about cats. I could change, this to be header information or quotes if I wanted to do something like that. It was a quote about the research project. There's also bulleted lists and then ordered lists as well for your 1, 2s, and 3s. With the plus sign, you can also do a split layout, which gives you 2 different areas to add in an image, and then maybe I want to say some text about that. And the center thing lets me flip-flop, which is on the right and on the left. You can add in videos. The one thing about the video is that it's kind of limited what you can add here. You can add a link from YouTube, Vimeo, or if you created a Spark video, then you can add in a link to the Spark video. But beyond that, it's kind of limited with what you can embed here. The other options are to add a button. So if I wanted to create a URL to go someplace to the how-to site, then I could add that here. And save this, and now I have a link to go out to another page. The photo grid is exactly that. If you're creating a collage of images, again, you could upload to create a collage, or you can find the free photos. And this is pretty cool because you just start to upload or select your multiple images that you want to add, and it automatically just redistributes these and makes it look really nice into a grid format. So again, if you've ever had to do this in Illustrator, it is not as easy. You kind of have to plan it. I usually have to plan it out on paper of what's going to go where. If I didn't want this to be the very first image, then you can select one and you can move it backward to kind of promote it to the front. You can also say something like this is the large photo, so you can promote that even more with size. So if you're creating that. So then I can save, and I can add a caption below as well. When you're using these free photos from the Adobe Creative Commons, it automatically, and you'll see this when we publish, but it automatically puts in the credits that you would need to credit the sources for the free photos, which is pretty nice. The last option here to talk about is this glide show. And this is kind of interesting. This glide show, again, is image-based. So we'll select some photos here. And again, you can order them using the up and down arrows to order or move them forward or backward. So I'm going to save this. This creates photos that are full kind of page size and has an area where you can add text or another photo or description on top of it. And you can see here, like as you're going through, it kind of glides and keeps fading into the other photo. So it's kind of a cool effect that you get. I usually kind of liken it to a mix between PowerPoint and Prezi, where Prezi is a little bit nausea-inducing because there's so much movement and zooming in and out, and this just has a little bit of that. So again, I could add text, another photo, I could link to a video here, whatever you wanted to do. And again, I could style that if I wanted to as well. When it comes to, I chose the header and this is red. That's because it's pulling from my brand colors and red is my primary brand color. If I wanted to change the way that some of this looked with the font, etc., there is a themes button at the top. Now, there's two different things you can do. When you have a brand loaded for things like video and for pages, it creates these 3 different templates, light, medium, and dark. And these templates you can edit to your heart's content. And you can do that by clicking on the name, and then there's a little pencil icon where you can go in and edit to say what the buttons look like, what your headers look like. So if you want to take that much time to really kind of deep dive and get it exactly the way that you're looking, the way you want it to look, then that's where that edit comes into play with the light, medium, and dark. And again, you can do that for video and for pages. If you don't want to go that deep, if you don't want to define all of the headings and etc., you can use that default one, which is your brand with the light, medium, and dark, or there are some additional ones below here, like Storybook or Trek, but just know this is going to change the font too. So this is now no longer like kind of a K font because it's using different fonts there as well. And these built-in Spark themes are not editable. So it's just the light, medium, and dark that you have with the brand information. And this will change, each of these will change the way that your buttons look, the text and the headings that you're using, as well as some of them, like for the quotes, will have some kind of cool things happening here where you actually see the quotation marks. So this is all stuff you can define in your brand in light, medium, and dark, but you can't change it in the one that you select on the side here. When it comes to viewing this, if you are just presenting from your computer, you can log into Spark and choose Present from here, and it gives you a full screen presentation option. And this works like a website where you just keep scrolling down to see additional information and additional things you've talked about. So again, kind of treating this as your slides versus creating a PowerPoint. If you need to share this, if you're presenting somewhere on a topic and you need to share this, then that's where the share button comes into play, and you choose Publish and Share Link. You will have to choose a category, so I'm going to say Education, and then notice here that it gives you all of those photo creds from the ones that you used. If you had other photos that you needed to credit or other information to credit, you could do that here as well. And then once I choose Create Link, it's going to publish this. The great thing about this link is that the link never changes, even if you make updates. So I'm always the person that it's like up until 10 minutes before I present, I might be adjusting or adding in information, but they needed that link a week ago. So you can always provide them the link, and then you can update it as you're working on it, and the link will never change once you publish it. So you can copy the link from here. You could also choose this embed option, which gives you an embed code that you can paste into a CMS page, which actually produces a pretty cool result. I think I have a demo of that from Linda. So let me bring up that here so you can see what that looks like. And I have already filed it, so let's see.
It's just, oh, it's not your phone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then, of course, you go there. I don't remember which page.
I know.
Sorry.
No, no worries.
Yeah, this is my practice page, so just look away for a while.
So we'll wait for that to load and I'll show you what that looks like. It produces a pretty cool effect where this is the Spark page that's embedded. And when you click on it, it just opens up so it looks like you're still using the CMS for the user. I don't really know that I've gone anywhere different. And then I can scroll through to view that information. And you can have multiple ones listed here. So if you were doing a newsletter, or if you were creating like feature stories on some of the research projects going on and the projects that you're working on, then you can have just multiple of these Spark pages listed and embedded here.
Is it safe to assume that these are all readable and accessible to people that use screen readers?
I believe so. Once you click in, I don't know that this is with this Create a Spark page. I don't know what that title would be, since it's kind of just over an image, but I think then once you click into here, it would work in the way that other screen readers would work with reading the text. For the images, you probably have to add captions to each of those, so that would read kind of as the alt text. Other questions about page? All right, so last one then is video. This is the most interesting of the three, I think, because of the way that it lays the video out. Again, I was talking about how in most video applications, you use multiple timelines to do your video and your audio and etc. With Spark Video, it's more like creating a PowerPoint slide deck, which does make it a little bit easier if you're not used to working with multiple timelines in a video. So what I usually like to do is click on the plus sign. For videos, I always like to choose the start from scratch and then video. There are some things here, you know, you can give a title. I gotta be honest, I always skip this. But then after that, it's a little bit interesting because it gives you these kind of storytelling templates. And when you create this, then it gives you different slides where you would tell that part of the story. So if you need help like generating ideas of what you should put where in the order that you would go in, these could be really great. If you already have an idea in mind, then you can choose start from scratch and it's just a blank slate. So I'm going to choose start from scratch here. And then it does give you some video tips. I'm going to close this tutorial. So at the bottom, this is essentially your timeline, but again, it's arranged as different slides for how it moves through your content. When you're on essentially one of these slides or this part of the timeline, this is where you can add in your information. So if you already have a video created that you want to add here and you want to splice multiple videos together, or you want to add voiceover to that, maybe you also want to splice in some images and text about that and create kind of a full look and feel, then this is great for that. If you want to record audio, that's down here at the bottom with the microphone, and you press and hold, and you do have to allow it to use your mic. So I'm going to press and hold, and I'm talking and it's recording audio, and it tells you how long you've been talking for this, so it kind of gives you that tick up for the time. As soon as you stop talking, on the end here, this automatically adjusts the length of this slide to be the same length as your voice. If you're not using voice, or if you want this to be longer than what you're talking, maybe there's some additional text on the page or images that they may need to spend some time looking at, you can always click on this little timeline. You can remove the narration, and then you can also change how long that slide is lasting. Other things you could add here, again, we could add in some photos. Sorry for all the cat themes, but it seems to be like a friendly one here.
How many cats do you have?
I just have one, but I act like I probably have a hundred. And again, you know, I can do things like adding in text or icons here. I can split the screen. So again, it gives you that left and right bit of information. And I could also add in if this was a caption. When I'm ready to move on, I've talked about this bit of information, then that's at the bottom where you add this plus sign, which generates a new slide for you to add information. So here I could add in a different bit of text. This right now is 4 seconds, but again, I can adjust that to be a little bit longer for read time if I think that if I have a substantial amount of information here. I'm going to add another one and show you video. So when I choose video, this is the point where I can upload some information. So let's see if this will work for me today. Okay, let's try a different one here. Oops. So with the video, this lets you pan through and select the time. The play gives you the playthrough of this. If I wanted this to be longer part of the video, then I could expand that here. Once you're happy with what you've selected in your video selection, which is in this white area, then you'll choose save. If I know that I want to continue this video on the next slide, but maybe I want to say something different, or I want to have kind of a break and a transition between that, then with the video, it gives you this option here that is continue clip. So you can choose continue clip. It starts right at the point where you left off in the previous slide, and you can continue that on from there, or you can absolutely pick a different spot or extend this out, I believe. I don't know if you can pick a different spot, but you can't continue this out here. And then I can choose save.
So I recently was trying to shorten a video and could not figure out how to do it. So you could use this just to do one video shorten?
Yeah, you can choose just the piece of the video that you want to show. So I will say one thing about the video is that it works well for small video projects. If you're going to record something and create like a 2-hour long video, it's probably not going to be the greatest tool for that because of how you have to add in the video snippets. And I tried to add in like an hour-long video and use the whole thing, and it took quite a bit of time. So it's best when you are just choosing small bits of that. So think more like social media-esque videos versus like a lecture that you would have. I think that you can change in here to where this focuses on. So I can zoom in and out here of the video, and I can click and drag to move to reposition this too. So if I need to change kind of like the focal point of that video, then you can do that from within here as well. Other things that you can add to your project as a whole. Again, this is just with the layout and adding in your content. At the top there, there's also a theme button. And again, you get your light, medium, and dark, so you can change and edit these to what the transitions are, what the text looks like, etc. And then there's built-in themes at the bottom if you want to start out with something. So these built-in themes, if you notice how I'm hovering over here, this shows you how it transitions with your video and how it moves between your slides and your content. Then you can hover over any of these to kind of see how they transition. So some of them fade and come in, some of them flip up, and that's how it transitions. So you can choose whichever one you like. We're gonna go with this and the blue. There's also the resize. So if you're creating an Instagram video, then you can do a square video. Or if you're doing something for the CMS, then you can do a widescreen as well. And then finally, there's built-in music. So if you're doing audio, it will play that. You can also add in bits of other information or other music here as well. So let's see. Don't really know what all of these sound like. So we'll use the building tall. We'll add that, see what that sounds like. When you want to preview your video, there's a button to preview. So you can choose preview and it will show you what this looks like. I don't hear the audio, but I may have something done incorrectly, but at this point it would have the audio and the music playing when you're, not connected. And then you can go in and make adjustments. When you're sharing this video, again, you can download it if you want to create a downloadable piece to send out. You can also share, which generates a shareable link for you to send out or to post somewhere.
And this is all being saved in your Adobe Spark account versus saving it on your desktop or shared drive.
Yeah, the only time that it saves off onto a shared drive is if you're able to download the asset, then you can save it wherever, but it won't ever be editable from whatever you download. It's kind of like a final piece of it. Otherwise, all the editable files are saved within that Spark account.
Are pages downloadable?
Pages are a little bit interesting here. I'm in Firefox, so this won't let me, but there's a option, I believe, somewhere, find it. When you're using Chrome, you can print this to a PDF. It doesn't look great, but it is an option to download that. But right now it's just within Chrome where you can actually print that to a PDF or print it to an MFD or whatever.
So if you made a flyer, then how would you save that and they'll send it to a print job?
So yeah, so flyers, because they're graphics, you can save as a PNG and print that out and it looks totally fine. It's just the pages, because of how it does the images, the PDF looks a little bit strange. But from a graphic, if you're doing a flyer, then you can download it as a PNG or as a JPEG or even as a PDF. And then you'd be able to print it out from there. Or upload it to the CMS if you wanted to do something like that. Other questions for me?
On posts, is there a feature where you can position things like in the background or the foreground?
Yeah, so it is called, let me find one here. It's called order.
Okay.
And so when you're in that, you can flip the order around to change the position. It takes a little bit to get used to. And because this has two different areas, you have to get it in the right one. So of course it's not working, but it's the order down here at the bottom where you can change what's on top and what's kind of below.
Okay, cool.
Are there any questions online? Is there a way to check that?
Let's take a look. Is it possible to add hyperlinks to text on posts? Oh, good question. Let's take a look here. Not that I have seen on the post. It's absolutely possible in a page, but I haven't seen that option with a post and text. I've just seen it where it lets you add the text, but nothing behind it.
The only time you'd be able to use it is when you export it as a PDF, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super fun. I will say the last thing about it too is that it's also on your mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit harder to use because you have a smaller interface, but it is kind of fun to, if you already have images on your mobile, you could start your project on your mobile device and then finish it within the browser because it talks and syncs to one another. So if you already had assets like videos or pictures that you've taken of a research project here or something like that, then you can always begin that way. If you're using an iOS, then you have all 3 apps, which is Post, Page, and Video. So they're all 3 separate. If you're using an Android, they only have Post right now, but I think that they'll be adding the other ones later.
Use it all the time for social media. It makes making social media graphics so easy.
It does.
It's all sized properly. So
That's pretty amazing. I will say too, the other thing about this is if I'm creating social media graphics, I'm using the same content, the same image, the same text. It's just that I want to have something for Instagram, Facebook, and then maybe I also want to create a flyer. You can create it one time, and then at the top in this project, you can click the little drop-down arrow, and you can say duplicate. And I put like behind here, I do like Insta or Facebook or whatever I'm creating. And so you can duplicate this. And then once you have the duplicate, you can edit it, and all you need to do is change the size. So I can say resize to Facebook, kind of readjust everything. I may need to make some minor adjustments here so that it looks decent, but then I'm done. So again, if you've ever had to do this in Illustrator, it's not this easy.
For those of us who abandoned Illustrator.
Because it's crazy, yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're doing it all the time, you forget.
It's a lot, yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, if we don't have any other questions,
I don't see any.
okay. Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
my
coming.
pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Please welcome to have more food if you like.
Dinner,
And
maybe?
yeah,
For dinner.
I will be sending out the feedback survey, and I'll send out a link to this presentation, and I'll be sending updates for the next LSI Communications Workshop. And if you guys have any suggestions on what you'd like to learn about, send them my way.
You're the local expert if we have
Cool.
questions.
Maybe. What's that?
You're the local expert if we have questions.
I'm not as expert as she is, but I could probably answer some questions. I can certainly find out some. I use it quite a bit, so. I've made videos for social media too. It works really great.
Yeah,